Hello and welcome to Bounding Into Comics. My name is John Trent. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief at Bounding Into Comics. And today I got a story about WarnerMedia inking a new deal with a Yale professor for more social justice programming that comes just months after they inked a deal with radical Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors. Word of this new deal came via The Wrap's Tim Basinger, who reported that Dr. Phillip Atiba Goff, the co-founder and CEO of the Center for Policing Equity, and his newly formed JusticeRx team signed a deal with WarnerMedia to create, quote, original content informed by Goff's work, as well as collaborate with the studio's creative roster on projects centered around social justice, end quote. Warner Brothers Television Group Chairman Channing Dungey announced Goff's deal, stating, Dr. Phillip Atiba Goff has been a leading voice of moral clarity on critical issues facing our society, and through this creative partnership, we are honored to have the benefit of his insight, guidance, and counsel here at the studio. Dungey added, we are also extremely excited to collaborate with Dr. Goff and his team to create powerful and compelling programming that will both entertain and inspire. Goff's leading voice on moral clarity on critical issues facing our society includes attacking the Black Rifle Coffee Company as, quote, murderous white supremacy after a photo of Kyle Rittenhouse began circulating on social media in November 2020. More recently, in response to a press conference given by Cherokee County Sheriff's Captain Jay Baker, Goff wrote, not reposting that video, but we fetishize the internal states of white people all the time. Their motives are what matter for criminal charges. Their bad day is somehow relevant all the time. He added, stop defining the problem based on white minds. The problem is paid with our bodies. There's probably a reason why Goff decided to not show the video, and that's because Captain Baker was relaying to reporters what investigators had told him regarding their interviews of suspect Aaron Robert Long.
Sheriff, did you have the sense that he understood the gravity of what he did?
When I spoke with investigators, they interviewed him this morning, and they got that impression that yes, he understood the gravity of it, and he was pretty much fed up at the end of his rope, and yesterday was a really bad day for him, and this is what he did.
And as for his claim that motives are what matter for criminal charges, he's completely wrong. The law library clearly explains, quote, proof of motive is not required in a criminal prosecution. They add, in determining the guilt of a criminal defendant, courts are generally not concerned with why the defendant committed the alleged crime, but whether the defendant committed the crime. Earlier on March 17th, Goff would write, the exploitation of vulnerable communities is consistently pathologized in white folks, making white folks into victims and erasing, in this case, the literal body count left in the wake of that exploitation. No idea where he's getting that, where he's pulling that from. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. On March 21st, he wrote, have been learning more about racism in native spaces and wanting to learn much more. White supremacy, like life, always seems to find a way. The tweet is in response to an article from BuzzFeed claiming the Seminole Nation in Oklahoma denied a COVID-19 vaccine to Laetta Osborne Sampson because she is a descendant of enslaved black people. The Seminole Nation of Oklahoma denies the claim. They posted on Twitter, Seminole Nation chief releases statement regarding the dissemination of COVID-19 vaccines. Wewoka, Oklahoma, March 18, 2021. Seminole Nation chief Greg P. Chilcote issued the following statement today relating to the United States Indian Health Service's dissemination of COVID-19 vaccines. The United States Indian Health Service is the entity in charge of administering COVID-19 vaccinations to the Seminole Nation, and it is the nation's understanding that such vaccine dissemination is being administered entirely consistent with federal law and policy in providing such vaccinations. Any allegation that the Seminole Nation is denying access to the COVID-19 vaccine to a group of people is entirely false. Remember, he's the leading voice of moral clarity on critical issues facing our society. In February, Goff also wrote, quote, one party is debating whether or not they should be the party of white supremacy. The other is debating how much they should compromise with that party. I desperately need a nap. Again, this is what WarnerMedia thinks is the leading voice of moral clarity on critical issues facing our society. He is most definitely not, despite what WarnerMedia wants you to believe. His tweets just in the past 2 months, Make that very clear. As for what Goff and his company have planned for programming at WarnerMedia, the Yale professor stated, "This year, the world was reminded of the power stories have to define our lives. That creates an unprecedented opportunity to direct that power towards uplifting vulnerable communities. Our goal will be to help storytellers untell the lies we tell about ourselves. I cannot be more excited about this opportunity to work with the brilliant people at WBTV in that project." The Wrap reports the type of programming, quote, could range from scripted dramas and comedies to docuseries and other unscripted projects for streaming, cable, and broadcast networks. This announcement comes a day after WarnerMedia Studio CEO Ann Sarnoff declared, quote, "We want DC to be a fandom that feels safe and inclusive. We want people to be able to speak up for the things they love, but we don't want it to be a culture of canceling things that any small faction isn't happy with. We are not about that. We are about positivity and celebration." While she's specifically talking about DC there, I don't think it's too far of an assumption to extrapolate that to the rest of WarnerMedia Studios. And it seems pretty clear Goff's deal is the exact opposite of that statement, given his public statements on Twitter. It means that Ann Sarnoff is a liar, and WarnerMedia is a company that is led by liars. My name is John Trent, and you've been watching Bounding into Comics.